Hi everyone. In this video, you're going to learn how to make the McDonald's logo with the little slogan at the bottom. So again, before we begin, all rights to the logo and the slogan belong completely to McDonald's. Um, and with that, let's just begin. So the first thing we're gonna do is, for me, since I'm starting a new part studio, I'm going to create my new part studio, but if you're starting this in a new document, just label yours McDonald's logo. Um, then the second thing you're gonna do is you're going to download a PNG and make sure that you have an image, something like this, with a transparent background, just helps a little bit. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to your front plane and then go to a sketch, create your sketch on the front plane. Then when you go to your DXF or slash DWG, sorry, I can't talk today. Then go to insert image, then select your McDonald's logo PNG, and then you're going to draw your image rectangle. I'm going to go from the bottom right, and something like that should work. Actually, I might make it a bit bigger. So then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to refer to the sketch I made with what dimensions I created it to. Let's see, hold on. So this is in millimeters, by the way. It seems that this is 123, or I'm going to round it up, 124. And I wonder what this one is. So this seems to be 85. Okay, then. We can make it 85. That works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here, going to dimension it to 123 and dimension this part to 85. Okay. Well, we'll just if this ever happens to you, if there's a red sign, then don't mess with the dimension. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. As long as it's somewhere near, as long as the dimensions work out, you should be fine. Okay, I'm gonna select out of dimension. And you're gonna select this and click delete. And so I hope the sketch is solved. Okay, so then the next thing we're gonna do is make a construction line coincident to the front, the line created by the right plane, I believe. So what we're gonna do is we're going to click on the line tool, draw our line through the center. This is just to make our life so much easier so we don't have to trace over everything. Twice is what I meant. Then what we're gonna do is we're going to make it a construction line. You click the construction line button. So you select your line first, then you go to the construction line button over here. And that's how you create your construction line. So what this does is it makes sure that your line isn't counted as an original sketch. That's helpful because you can make sure that the line won't interfere with your extrusion or anything. So that's that for now. What we're going to do now is we're going to go to the handy dandy spline tool, select the spline tool, zoom in, and from the beginning, just choose a point on the axis. And then I suggest going in small increments at a time. I'm sorry. Then you're going to select any point on the M, a point that is a comfortable maneuvering point, and then try and do your best to align it. Remember, there are different ways to align it because there's going to be the tugger points. That's what I call them. That's not formally what you call them, but it works out for beginners. Then choose your last point. I suggest having at least 4 maneuver points. And then choose these white points to help you oh my gosh. I forgot to click escape twice. Oh, this is spline handle. Okay, there we go. I forgot to click escape twice, which is probably what caused it to do that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the spline handles, which is what they're called. and adjust it to exactly the outline as best as to my ability, exactly to the outside of the McDonald's logo. Let's see if we can adjust this point. Yeah, we can do that. So you can also adjust these blue points because blue means that it's not fixed. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the spline handle over here. It's a very different process for everyone. Really depends on where you placed your maneuver points. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna create another spline until you create and cover the entirety of the McDonald's logo. I'm just gonna move my box somewhere over out of the way. And I'm gonna click. And since this is a relatively consistent curve, I suggest going to the lowest point possible until it becomes quote unquote flat, or maybe until somewhere around here. It's just an easier maneuver point. Okay, and then click escape. Make sure that these 2 points are coincident when you hover over this point, or whenever you start your second spline. You have to see the coincident constraint lines. Otherwise, your sketch won't be complete, and that's going to be a problem when you extrude, because unfinished sketches do not get extruded. So then what you're going to do is you're just going to pull out the handles to the best ability again. Don't worry if it's kind of messed up. That can be fixed with the blue maneuver points. Or it's just okay to have it not as accurate as you wanted it. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to create another spline until here, just to get it as precise as possible. Because see, there still is a minor curve. So I'm just going to go to the end of the McDonald's logo, click escape, use my spline handles. Okay, so a really important thing when using splines is that you click escape twice, because otherwise it kind of messes up your process a bit. So what you're gonna do after that finally is to then add your line tool and make your flat line. It's much easier to use it and it's going to be more precise. So I suggest that you just make your line at the edge. Then continue the process throughout the other McDonald's, the inner curve per se. Line tool. Oh, not the line tool, I'm sorry. Spline tool. Then select here. Select a very consistent point that you can just drop it. I see the curve starts to begin over here. So I'm going to select it over here and then make it as close as possible. Like over here, maybe. Click escape twice. And a good way to know is that when you select the spline tool, notice how your cursor changes from a pointer to a cross. When you click escape once, it should stay the same. Since I haven't actually created a spline, let me just create a spline to show you guys. When you click here and click escape, what it does is it excludes that spline, but it doesn't come out of the spline tool, if that makes sense. So in order to come out of the spline tool, you have to click escape another time and make sure that it turns into a pointer. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is we're going to adjust it along to reduce as much space as possible. Then I'm gonna move the maneuver point a little bit over. And then move this point over here. And then do the same for this point. Like this. Lining it along. Okay, so see how this one's a little bit off? I think I can adjust that with my handle. Okay, there we go. So then I'm going to finish off the last line. here, click escape, then just align it perfectly, as perfect as possible, like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my line at the bottom. I noticed that I actually haven't aligned the blue dot perfectly where the logo ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure it goes as much as possible. Get my line tool. And I just need to do it under the mirror line because because you're going to mirror this other image onto the other side. But what I realized is that these 2 points aren't coincident, and I believe that's because the line I drew, it's not going to be perfectly straight if I made it longer. So in order to make it perpendicular in better terms, in order to make these two spline slash end line perpendicular, I have to make them coincident. So I'm going to zoom in as best as possible. Then click on one point. Are they coincident? I'm going to make Command Z. And so where I can clearly see the 2 points. And just to make sure I can complete my sketch, I'm going to make them 2 coincident. Okay, there we go. That breaks down. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to actually finish my sketch. Actually, I take that back. Don't finish your sketch. Click on edit, then go to your mirror tool. That's next to your linear pattern tool and your offset tool. Go to mirror, select your mirror line, and then it'll allow you to draw a window. Select your first part of the McDonald's logo. And voila. Didn't select some. Okay, select your arcs or select the pieces that didn't get mirrored. And it's okay if this bottom line doesn't get mirrored, and I'll tell you why. Because if you notice, I aligned mine slightly asymmetrically. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go in and fill in that line by hand. It'll just give us more precise results, like so. Then we can finish our sketch. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to extrude it. I think I like to extrude mine to around 25 millimeters. Let's see. Ooh, that's too big. So I think I'm gonna edit my extrude. And I'm gonna make it maybe around 15 millimeters. Maybe 10. Yeah, that seems good. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to make a background for it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna click on the front plane. Actually, not the front plane. That's the mistake I made with this part studio. And that's why it came on the back plane. If I turn it to isometric, the sketch came entirely on the back plane. So now I'm not going to repeat that mistake. And I'm going to make my sketch on the back plane. So I'm going to create my sketch, select, then use my center point rectangle, draw a brief outline that I hope will cover the entirety of the tool. Then I'm going to dimension the top one to 150. Then this side to 250, 150. Oh, not 135, 125. Okay, I feel that's too big. So I'm going to make it 100. That's, okay. So I don't think my center point rectangle was quite the right fit because I forgot to make sure that my sketch center, my sketch plane that I created, the trace of the image, wasn't perfectly centered at the origin. So this time that place is not going to work out. That style is not going to work out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something similar. Just instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a center rectangle, a corner point rectangle to get the most accurate results. So this side, my Onshape is loading. Okay, dimension, I'm gonna make this 125 and this side 100. Okay, perfect. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish the sketch and go into isometric view. And I'm gonna select the plane. I'm going to extrude it. This time I'm going to extrude it backwards so that, oh, wow, I don't, okay, I'm gonna click right click, click edit. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to extrude this in the opposite direction so that the McDonald's logo comes right in front of the thing, right in front of it. And make sure you've merged scope with part 1, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna create a new part. Then I'm going to make the dimension 15 millimeters for extrusion and click edit. Reason for this is that the background has to be a different color, so it's just helpful that way. So now what I'm realizing is that there's not enough room for the text. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to actually increase the length of my base rectangle sketch just to make it a bit easier. So I'm gonna right click, click edit. Then I'm going to, make the dimension 150. Okay, that's not really what I wanted to do. So what we're gonna do is we're going to use the point tool to find the midpoint of the rectangle. Okay. Whee. Okay, I found the midpoint. Again, that's just 2 projection lines where they meet together. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the coincident tool and make it coincident with a point. Oops. I'm going to make it coincident with the middle, center, or the origin. I'm going to actually shrink this to maybe around 140. Not 40, 140. Okay, maybe 135. See, I'm just doing this to show you how a normal I'm sorry, I cannot speak today. A normal experimentational process goes for me. While I've already created this, it's always good to make mistakes so you know how to fix them in the future. So these are all mistakes that I'm kind of doing by accident, but it's also a good learning experience for you to see how to troubleshoot what you make in Onshape, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to click the green check button, and voila, I have created my new platform. So now all I need to do is create the iconic McDonald's logo. Slogan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my face of extrude 2, and then I'm going to go to the text tool. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my text box, and I'm going to type, I'm loving it. Iconic, I love it. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the text tool or the font tool, and then I'm going to go to Noto Serif. I believe if I'm not wrong. Or maybe Open Sans. Let's see. So I'm going to flip it horizontally. Oh, or not. Let's right click and click. I'm actually going to recreate the text. I think I may have messed it up. So I'm going to create my text box again. Then I'm going to type in, I'm loving it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bold it to look something like this. I'm going to insert it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dimension it. I'm going to dimension this line to 125. because that's the size. Then I'm going to dimension the distance between these to be, I'm sorry, hold on. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this 120. So I can make this distance 10. Sure, hold on. That would leave this distance. So what I'm actually doing right now is I'm trying to calculate the length. I just realized that I may have messed things up for this dimension calculation because this isn't the dimension that I did for my example. You can see that this side, my current example is very much longer than this one, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I know that my dimensioning for this side is 125 millimeters. So now what I have to think about is what size can I make my text so that it is both legible and it is an equal distance from both of these sides. So what I'm going to do is I believe the best length for this would be 115 millimeters. Then what I'm going to do is I believe that 125 minus 115 is equal to 10 millimeters. So I'm going to leave 5 millimeters here, hence meaning that there are 5 millimeters here, right? So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to dimension the bottom line to the bottom edge and make it 10 millimeters. Actually, that doesn't really look okay. It looks a bit too below. So I'm going to make it maybe 15 millimeters. Okay, that seems pretty good. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish my sketch. Doesn't need to be very exact. It just needs to look somewhat precise. So I'm going to select my text. I'm going to click extrude. I'm going to make it a new part. And I want to see my preview. Okay, that looks pretty good. So then there it would be 10 millimeters. Click enter, click P, and that's your logo. Just kidding, we're not done yet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give it the iconic McDonald's colors. So I did a bit of research and I found out that there is a McDonald's red, and that color is actually, I'm sorry, hold on, let me just find the color. This color over here. So I'm going to copy the hex code from my previous one, and I'll put it in the description as well. Just so you can hear it out loud. It's DA291C. All the letters are capitalized. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go to my part 2 or the background, right click, click edit appearance, click Command V, and click enter. So there's my iconic red. Then there for the iconic McDonald's yellow, I'm going to go to part 1, right click, and click edit appearance. Okay, so this is the hex code. I'm going to put it in the description as always, but just so you hear it out loud, FFC72C. Again, all the letters are capitalized, and I'm going to I'm going to copy it, come to my part 1, right click, and click edit appearance, Command V, and there's the iconic yellow. Finally, what we need to do is we needed to edit all of these colors. Now, there is a very fast and efficient way to do it. How you do it is you know that this is part 1 and part 2 are both the McDonald's logo and the platform that's around it. So all the remainder parts are the letters, the text. So you're going to click Shift and select, actually, hold on. For Windows users, I believe it's Shift. For Mac users, I believe it's Command. So select all of the parts below part 2, right click, click edit appearance for 14. Then what you're going to do is you're going to use, as ironic as it seems, there is a pure white that McDonald's uses, or the hex code is EAEAEA. Then you're going to go, oh no, it unselected everything. That's okay. Just reselect all of your parts. Right click and click edit appearance, Command V, and click enter. And there is your marvelous McDonald's logo with platform, right? So this is how your logo should be designed. It should take a little bit of planning if you want to include some different aspects to it, or if you just want to do centering, it just requires some basic mathematics. Nothing much more than that. So I hope this video helped you. It was considerably very long, and I'm sorry about that. I wish I could make it a bit shorter, but I included some mistakes, some errors that I thought would really help you guys troubleshoot all your future projects and this project as well. So if you have any feedback, suggestions, comments, please feel free to email me, and all the information will be in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. Bye!